Hello, insiders. This is Dr. Nancy Trimboli with your Healthcare Arsenal podcast. This podcast is designed for that person who knows there's a better way towards health and wellness. They just don't know what that better way is. And my hope for you with each passing episode is that you get closer to being your own best expert. We are on our Secret Intel deep dive into stealth health, the book that I published in early 2020. And what's crazy about it is that this book is more and more and more pertinent, especially after going through 2020 and all the events around it. So today I want to take a closer look at the system, capital T, capital S, the system. And interestingly, on some of the commentators that I follow on YouTube are starting to use the same term in the political realm to mean the machine that is working against all of our best efforts. And this is the same concept in our health and wellness. There is a machine that's been in place for decades, for our whole lives, you and me, our whole lives, whose primary goal is to make us sick, dependent, to make us so lose our logical brain so that we just follow blindly to what is told to us, and which keeps us kind of under the thumb of the system. Why this is in place, I have no idea, and I am not going to speculate because I seriously am clueless about it. The system is comprised of, and I'm going to read to you from Stealth Health, and this is on page 51 of the soft cover. It encompasses primarily the pharmaceutical industry. It includes the conventional medical model, and I go on to explain that the medical model, by saying the medical model, I don't mean medical doctors themselves or RNs or nurses. I think they go into the profession to help people and they just get swept up into this conventional medical model system. The system also includes chemical companies, and I include food companies as a chemical company. When you read the package of just about everything, every quote food item that's in a box or a can, there's going to be some things that you don't quite know what they are in your food. It also includes the advertising industry and the media. The media has become more and more and more pushing us down a path of sickness rather than wellness, because the media supports the pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies support the media because the media has to have dollars to live on, to pay everybody, to create beautiful commercials. So the pharmaceutical and the media work hand in hand. So I say the media and advertising industry play powerful supporting roles with research and academia along for the ride. So unfortunately, as I was writing Stealth Health, I came across a researcher who specifically pointed to the fact that the reason why research is tainted is because researchers are working in a lab, usually owned by somebody else, a university, for example. And the only way they can run research is to get grants. The only way to get grants is to apply for grants. And the people that say, yes, check mark this group for this research, is kind of like what's always been done before. In order to get a grant for something that's off the charts and not directing people toward a pharmaceutical end, there's no money in that wallet. There's no money in that coffer because the pharmaceutical companies are behind a lot of the grants. And you'll hear that said in the media when you hear, like, oh, this special event was funded by so and so, research for this was funded by so and so pharmaceutical company. So it's just like this, again, it's like this own microcosm of a system inside the larger system, this whole research, and where does the money come from? Let's see. And I'm going to look for, I have a book in my office that was written by that exact person that was talking about this. And in addition, I mention another researcher, maybe one or two in here specifically, that speak to how their own research that they did would not be repeated. Now, in order to substantiate one research study that shows something, you have to repeat it, um, and that was not going to happen. And or things that they said in their research that went counter to what the pharmaceutical companies wanted. Their research was, it was buried. It was, the validity of the research was questioned. So in some cases, in extreme cases, the people lost their positions as, in the universities. They lost their positions as researchers for pharmaceutical companies. They were slandered. They were threatened. Their family was threatened. So this is a big deal. This is not just, oh, they didn't like my research, so they ignored it. No, no. It can be dangerous to be a whistleblower. And I'm probably going to do a whole session about whistleblowers, because it's fascinating when you look at what they were actually saying. So back to the system now. So health insurance companies and federal government agencies, who you might believe would support better and cheaper ways to deliver healthcare, appear to merely echo the chants of major players. So I'm so proud of myself that I said federal government agencies, because we saw throughout 2020, especially into 2021, when a lot of us, the light bulb was going off, um, and we were seeing the truth for what it was. And once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. Once we started seeing things in 2020, organization, the WHO, all of them were saying things that seemed illogical and ran counter to everything that we had learned about health and specific medications up to that point. And what's super cool is what was recently published, or recently revealed, was that after a 2-year legal fight where medical doctors sued the CDC, so after a 2-year legal fight, the CDC releases 780,000 vaccine injury reports related to the COVID vaccine. They hid those reports. It was an online reporting. It was for people who had effects, had detrimental effects immediately after the COVID vaccine, serious detrimental effects, and they just they just buried it. They just buried it. So that's one. Another article I just found was that, let's see, the FDA takes down controversial ivermectin posts. Now, this brought back memories for me, back in 2020, when I first, we were first discovering what was going on. And I realized that people that mentioned ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine on the internet, their posts were either taken down, or whatever social media site they were on, their account was deleted. And some people, they had thousands, if not millions of followers, and their account was deleted just for mentioning hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. Now let's think about this. You know what? We're not researchers here. I can quote you things that our researchers are saying about the support that both of these medications had for COVID, but just to understand things a little bit better. What does hydroxychloroquine do? Hydroxychloroquine allows zinc to go into the cells of our body. Quercetin, which is a supplement that you can buy anywhere pretty much, does the same thing. So back in 2020, 2021 into early 2022, if you went to my drnancy.health website, there was a freebie download where it was my COVID recommendations. Have all of these things on hand. And one of them was to take quercetin and zinc together. Because what zinc does for your cells is it stops the virus from creating more viruses. Because you see, a virus doesn't have a body, it is just a strand of DNA, and it creates discord in your body. So this strand of DNA, it doesn't have the ability, this virus doesn't have the ability to go from 1 to 2 like bacteria can do. It uses our own replication system in each cell of our body to create more viruses. So zinc, which is just an element that is available in food, zinc helps our body to stop a virus from creating more of itself. The quercetin allows the zinc into the cells more readily. Hydroxychloroquine does the same thing as quercetin. It allows the zinc to enter our cells. That's it. Why is it so evil? Why was it vilified? Now, for sure, hydroxychloroquine has been used for 60 years with virtually no negative side effects. In areas of Africa where malaria is present, the residents, the citizens of those countries take hydroxychloroquine once a week as a preventative to malaria. And it is noted, it is documented to be one of the safest medications on the planet. It is time tested. So when it was vilified, it blew my mind. And what also really shook me was that, and you can go back to my YouTube channel and watch these videos that I produced. I would look at the news feeds from Yahoo, from Apple News, from MSNBC, from CBS, from all the different news sources, and they would repeat the same exact headline on all of these news sources. And that blew me away. And that I would, and I started to hear people just like parrot that headline. But the headline to me was nonsensical. So I would read the article, and do you know what? A lot of the time, if not most of the time, now I couldn't read all the articles, obviously, and it would make me upset, so I would stop. I would read the article, and the article sometimes had nothing to do with the headline. Or in the article, they would state a research study. Well, you know me, I'm going to look at that research study. What does that say? The research study said something completely different from the article, and the headline was something completely different, some dramatization of some aspect of those two. This was very, very overwhelmingly um, um, challenging for me because I could not believe the ignorance of what was going on around me and the people allowing the wool to be pulled over their eyes. So that's hydroxychloroquine. And even at that time, if you look at some of my videos, in the title of the video, I don't write that word out. I don't say the word hydroxychloroquine in the video. And then we started to realize that ivermectin may be even better. Because here's the deal. Hydroxychloroquine pretty much has to be used even before you know you're sick, at the very early stages, to stop the virus from replicating within our body. Once your body is sick and you've already replicated virus, then ivermectin was recommended because it's a safe antiviral. Now, my cheat sheet on how to protect yourself against COVID, I used other antivirals, olive leaf extract, grapefruit seed extract, which are powerful antivirals, in addition to oregano oil, the combination of clove, oregano, and thyme oil synergistically work together as an antiseptic to kill viruses and bacteria. Anyway, So that's what I would list because those were readily available and they were just virus killers, just like ivermectin. Ivermectin, a bit more powerful perhaps, but just a virus killer. And when people start saying that ivermectin is a horse dewormer, well, yeah, ivermectin's a horse dewormer. Yes, I've had horses for 20 years, and it was every 6 weeks. Every 3 months, a horse would get ivermectin to prevent worms. And so I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean, obviously you're not going to take it and the same amount for a human that you would give to a horse because a horse weighs anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 pounds. And I'm not going to try to take the paste. It was available for humans as a tablet. Like it just blew my mind. And uh, as a joke, I would say to people, yeah, ivermectin is used to deworm horses, but also um, Viagra was used for blood pressure, for high blood pressure. It's not used for that anymore. You can see that drugs can be found to have other uses, which is called off-label use. Off-label use means a drug is it is approved for human use. A medical doctor can use any drug that's approved for human use for anything they think is beneficial for the patient. So when the CDC started coming out and not only vilifying the drugs, but um, actually um, um, condemning medical doctors who used or were recommending those drugs to the point where those medical doctors got called before their state boards and would lose their licenses to practice. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? This is the system on steroids. Sorry for the pun. This is a system on steroids. And the federal government agencies was just merely a mention in stealth health. And that became one of the major players after I published Stealth Health. So now, here's the thing, too. I often get questions and comments from my patients in my office about Medicare. Oh, you have this great treatment for my problem, massage therapy. Something as simple as that. Lymphatic drainage, another massage technique, cranial sacral therapy, decompression, shockwave treatment, which if you watch my podcast, you saw an interview with Dr. Rutenbeck about the shockwave, which we use that in our office, cold laser therapy, all these things, super safe, so effective. Doc, Medicare covers that, right? No, Medicare does not cover that. Well, why not? And this is what I say to them. Medicare and health insurances in general do not cover things that promote wellness. And they especially do not want to cover services which will heal your body because these government agencies and these medical insurance companies want you to stay within the system in the conventional medical model. They will more than gladly pay for a spinal surgery than pay for ongoing chiropractic care. What the heck is up with that? What the heck is up? Now, Medicare does cover the adjustments, but only a few at a time, only up to 12. And you have to come in between a certain amount of time. You can't use those 12 just to come in once a month for wellness. Medicare coverage does not cover chiropractic wellness care because that would be preventative and that would be true wellness. So the federal agencies are not there to make you healthy. They are not there to protect you as an individual. They are not there to help you to achieve greater wellness, greater longevity, greater vitality. They are there to protect the system. They're there to protect the system, which is the pharmaceutical companies, the conventional medical model, and they are fed by the media now. Now we see this loop between the media, the federal government agencies, and the advertising industry. They completely form their own circle and will not let anything in that does not support the system. So when you say to me, well, hey, doc, I'm only going to do what my insurance covers. Oh, hey, doc, I'm only going to do what Medicare covers. You are doing yourself a disservice, a horrible disservice. And it saddens me because I pay for my own medical insurance and it's a ridiculous amount of money per month. But you know what? The thought is it needs to be there. Okay, it needs to be there. But I still grapple with that, and I will continue to talk with you about that as I grapple with that ethical question. Does somebody who does not support the conventional medical model and more than likely will not travel that path, should I even have it? Now, knock on wood, knock on wood that I'm still, protected by my angels. But But I do so many things to help to support my health and well-being. And if you're part of our Undercover Vitality community, I share all of those things with you that I do, things that I discover. I share it all with you because I want you to have greater health and vitality. So holistic healthcare practitioners like naturopaths, homeopaths, most chiropractors do not fall within that conventional medical model because our sole purpose is to help you elevate your health potential, to get you away from conventional medical model, to stop the endless medications, to eliminate medical interventions and testing for you. The testing just drives me crazy because very often your medical doctor does nothing with those test results, nothing. We want to get you out of that. We want to get you to the point where your own body can heal because there is capacity to heal. Um, I I am going to close with this. The system has been working against you your whole life. So be very careful about your medical doctor and what they recommend. Be very careful when they only recommend, this is just the way it goes, they only recommend things in their very narrow window of possibility. And your medical doctor doesn't realize it, I'm sure, but all they're doing is feeding the system and making sick people sicker. Think about this little thing. If if the heart interventions that are done, the medications, like the blood pressure pills and the statin drugs to lower cholesterol and the blood thinners, and if the stents and the surgeries, if all that really did something, wouldn't we have eliminated heart disease? Wouldn't we have eliminated heart attacks and strokes by now? Just saying. Look at what's in front of you. So, as always, I am hoping that with each passing episode, you get closer to being your own best expert. This has been Dr. Nancy Trimboli with your Healthcare Arsenal. Bye for now.